the king of Louisiana making his final farewell. My king of diamonds, Dustin Poirier, is making his final walk to the octagon in New Orleans, Louisiana, against Max Blessed Holloway. Two fighters that I think everyone consistently has said it's going to be tough to watch one of these dudes lose. I could not agree more. But you know I'm riding with my boy Dustin. Gotta ride with my boy Dustin, the Diamond. Love him to death. But we're going to go through this whole card here. Pretty darn good card. They ended up, I think at least getting a decent card put together for this. Definitely would have been better if we had the Aliskerov matchup with Ferreira. And Magny Nelson is a pretty good matchup just for where those two are at in their career. So that would have been nice to throw on the prelims to maybe replace some of these. But overall, not bad. Not bad. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10 based on how it's built. Maybe 7.5 out of 10. Not bad. But the performances, I think, have high potential to be good here. I think we got some good matchmaking here for what it's worth. So let's go ahead and get to it. Carli Judice versus Nicole Kalimami. All right. We got two great prospects in the flyweight division. All right. Carli Judice been making waves in this flyweight division with the performance of the night in her last and a fight of the night before that, and then probably one of the greatest female MMA fights of all time in her Contender Series fight with Ernesta Carrasqueta, and then Cagliari also having a loss to Carrasqueta. Also very entertaining. Relies more on her grappling. She's got good judo, great takedowns, and pretty decent submission game. So I think those are going to be the biggest problems for Judice to face. Nicole has definitely got more of a Muay Thai style. Has got to get in close. Very short reach. Very small build for this flyweight division. All right. I'd say Miranda is probably the next up. And Andrade. Probably two of the smaller, stockier fighters. But even Nicole is even smaller than them in terms of her frame. But still very stocky. Very strong. But Carli Judice is a beast. All right, the two fights she's lost, Carrasqueta is also cut from the same cloth, to be honest, as Judice, and the Fernandez fight was a barn burner. Okay, so Judice is gonna be coming with a lot of heat, and I got the faith in her. All right, she's gonna be in her hometown as well. All right, Louisiana, not even hometown, home state, but she's also from Lafayette as well as Dustin Poirier. So I think there's a lot of factors going toward Judice here. I think she's going to keep it on the feet as well. I think we're going to be good there, and she's going to light up Cagliari, maybe even get a finish. All right, this is Judice she brings it. All right, this is a beast right here. So imagine Judice is going to box her up. Next we got Bruno Ferreira versus Jackson McVey. Shout out to Jackson. All right, homie was supposed to face Cedric Dumas. Had some dude that replaced Dumas because of his ankle monitor not being able to be taken off. That guy missed weight by an insane amount. So I'm pretty sure McVey got his show money last time because he had to go through a bunch of shit, still made weight. Great build for middleweight, to be frank. I don't think he wins, though. Bruno Ferreira is a really good 185er. Not the build, really, for 185, but, man, he's got that power. He's got that power, and he's got that forward pressure that just breaks you over time. And I do think he is going to get the win over McVey. I think he'll be able to get inside and touch that chin of McVey. I think this is a tough outing for my man. I think he definitely got just given a much harder opponent than what he initially had when he was coming in with Dumas. So good luck to McVey. I'm glad he's getting his money, getting 2 checks real quick back to back. So good for him. But best of luck to him. If he wins, he wins. That's cool. But I think Ferreira is going to knock him out. Next we got, speaking of knockouts, we got Ryan Spann versus Łukasz Brzeski. If Ryan Spann gets knocked out by Łukasz Brzeski, brother, it's time to hang it up. It's time to hang it up. Łukasz Brzeski is more of a volume striker. If he does get finishes, he'll go for a TKO. Not really the knockout artist, per se, I'd say, is Brzeski. Not really known for that much at all. Known for putting on a decent pace and being, technical, staying on the outside and trying to put up volume numbers. All right. Whereas Ryan Spann, he's going to try and go for the finish or be finished. Okay. This is our glass cannon here. And to be fair to him, he had a tough debut at heavyweight. Waldo Cortez Acosta, I think, is a really decent heavyweight. He's definitely that like true 10 to 15 range of heavyweight. Maybe even 5 to 10 range of heavyweight is Waldo. In fact, where is Waldo nowadays on the rankings? Waldo Cortez Acosta is all right, on Tapology he's number 7. Okay, so that's definitely a tough outing in your first heavyweight bout. Łukasz Brzeski, I think, is meant for Ryan Spann to beat, so he should win this. It's tough to rely on Spann. I would not even... Well, hold on. Yeah, I wouldn't even touch this with a 10-foot pole. But, yeah, I'd say Spann probably wins this by knockout. Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. This is also a very tough one to predict, to be honest. I think Prachnio, over time, has gotten better at his grappling defense, but had a tough one against Modestas Migauskas. Almost finished Modestas with that insane question mark kick along the fence. Absolutely, I don't even know if you can call it a question mark kick. It's just Prachnio is so dexterous in his hips and knees. The way he was able to get that kick up to his head from literally chest, like a foot away from Modestas, that was insane. Prachnio is going to need to go for Jimmy Crute's legs, though. I just think Jimmy Crute's going to have the right game plan for this one. I was leaning on Prachnio to maybe light up Crute's legs, make him pay, but I think maybe the blueprint has been out for Prachnio for a good bit now, and I think Jimmy Crute should be able to implement it. I think Jimmy Crute coming back to the UFC had a rough debut coming back, or second debut, in his draw against Dulatov. This has got to be one of the most confusing, lineages of middleweight. It's probably the most middleweight record you could have, honestly. This is the most middleweight of middleweight records you could have. But yeah, 12-4-2, Jimmy Crute. I think he will grapple Prachnio. I think he will do well. He might even get a submission. All right, Marcin has been known to be submitted by arm triangles, like in his last fight. I think he's also been submitted another time, which was also a arm triangle by Vitor Petrino. So the blueprint's out there, and I think Jimmy Crute's got some decent arm triangles. I think even in his own career, if I'm not mistaken. He's got Kimuras. I definitely know he's a big Kimura guy. Yeah, he's even got his own triangle chokes, arm triangle chokes. So I think this could be a matchup that's built for Crute. All right. And what do we got on the minus 250, similar to Spann? I think that's fair. It's very similar to the Spann Brzeski in terms of like where they're at in their careers, and what this means if they get a win. They both have similar directions they could head. But yeah, I'm going with Crute on this one, either by submission or decision. Next, we got Adam Fugitt versus Islam Dulatov. I am gonna go with Islam Dulatov. I think the odds makers got it right for this one. Big gap in age here by 10 years. Dulatov making his debut, but something to note is the one build for welterweight, 6'3", 75-inch reach. Did someone call Neil Magny? No losses. Or no wins by decision. We're talking about 100% finishing rate here. Only a loss or losses by decision. Came out from Octagon before he got his Contender Series bout, where he got a knee to the body between a very experienced opponent, And sadly, Fugitt has been not having a little bit of a rough time in his UFC stint here. 50-50 thus far. Losses to some decent prospects. Morales, obviously a great prospect. Milat has been making a turnaround recently. Got guillotined by him. Then wins against Josh Quinlan and Kinoshita, which aren't the most amazing wins. I think Dulatov is going to come in and clean house and make a pretty solid statement in his UFC debut, to be honest. He could probably win this, I'd say, on the feet or with a front headlock choke of sorts. Big Darce guy. Dulatov is. I think he might even have anacondas, if I'm not mistaken. He's got arm triangle chokes. He's got guillotines. He's got Darces. No anacondas, but a couple of rear nakeds. Let me see. With the Ami career, do we got any? Nah, more guillotines, though. So It's going to be rough if if Fugitt goes to the ground. Either way, I think it's going to be a rough night. So Dulatov should take this one. What did Robert Valentin do to the UFC besides make the tough season entertaining? Because no one else was. All right, Robert Valentin, give this man some fun ass matchups. Why are we giving him literally? He had to face a grappler in the tough finale, so I mean there was no avoiding that. He got wrestle fucked and finished in that one. Then you gave him Taurus Finney. You gave him a pure grappler to fight against. Do you want this man to have entertaining fights? Do you? Stop giving him grapplers. What are you doing? And now you're giving him the hottest prospect you have at middleweight, who is a fucking destroyer who just bonks people and they're dead. That's who you're going to give Robert Valentin. That's crazy to me. There was someone I was thinking about before I started this video that you could have given him instead. You could have given Valentin Jackson McVey. You could have made that Jackson's debut as Robert Valentin instead of fucking Bruno Ferreira. I mean, I understand how it shook out, but you could have switched it to where, I don't know, maybe even Bruno Ferreira, maybe too big of a step up for Gautier, a little too quick. This was just rough, man. You could have given Valentin. Valentin has taken some shit matchups already, and it's hard to watch. But yeah, I think Gautier is gonna win this one. I think he's gonna bonk him. Valentin is definitely going to be game, and he's going to stand and strike with Gautier. I think that's the one advantage Valentin does have. He's got good timing on his elbows when people are coming in. But the thing is Gautier even going to come in? He's 81-inch reach against a 77-inch reach 185, which already is rare as fuck. All right, you already got insane stats on one side against a guy who had pretty awesome stats too. So yeah, Gautier I think is going to bonk him. It's going to be very sad. Do not kick Valentin out of the UFC after this. Give him a fun matchup. What are we doing, man? This guy could have some of the best fights, some literally classics, if you just give him good matchups. What are we doing here? Yeah, but Gautier. Next we got Francisco Prado continuing his welterweight his welterweight start versus Nikolai Veretennikov. This is a tough matchup. I think you got odds that make sense here. Definitely the build is going to Nikolai. I think the power is going to Prado, though. The thing is, I have trouble picking Veretennikov because of the Austin Vanderford fight that we just saw. Split decision to Danny Barlow, who just, I think, lost his O to Sam Patterson, who is a much longer, rangier guy. But that's a little bit too much MMA math. The point being that it's hard for me to go either way here. I got reasons why I could pick both guys, but Veretennikov has been finished by KO twice. One of those I think was in his last fight. So he's got a loss of being finished in the back of his mind. Prado could get under. He leaves his hands really low, though. I wouldn't bet on this fight, to be honest. I wouldn't put this anywhere in any sort of parlay or anything either. But I do think Veretennikov is going to get it. I do think Veretennikov is going to come back and get a win. I don't like the history Prado's. I don't like that. I don't like his hands low style. I do like. He's a 100% finisher, which is always fun. He's very hard to finish. He's got that Dober chin, which is near impossible to crack. It's just like stuff like this gets me super worried. That gets me super worried. I'm pretty sure Malarkey ended his career at featherweight in the UFC before he finished up. Right? Never mind. He had Hoofy. I think he tried to go to featherweight at one point. Right? Maybe I was wrong. Damn, I'm lying. I'm a big old liar. Never mind. For some reason, I thought my homie was at featherweight at one point. But, yeah, I don't like seeing that. A win over Ottoman Zaitar, as we know now, means nothing. Ottoman is way overrated. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because he's faced insanely good lightweights after a Zaitar, like Daniel Zellhuber, who's fighting Michael Johnson up on the card. He's great. Jake Matthews has also shown that his win is aged pretty well. But let me see. At this point, when he fought Jake Matthews, this was at 170 in his most recent fight. Damn. Yeah, I mean, it's aged really well since. And he went to decision with Jake Matthews, who finished Joe Kawani. Damn, man. MMA math makes this so much harder. But, I'm going with Prado, actually. I'm going to switch up and go Prado. Young guy, 23 years old. I think a lot of experience. I think that Jake Matthews loss, I think probably taught him a lot about what he's going to have to do here at featherweight. Yeah, I think he's going to get in tight. He's going to push the issue. All right, and he's going to finish for Kretnov. Whatever. Let's go for it. I think Prado's going to get that KO. You know, I'm switching up. Prado by KO. Let's go. 23 years young. Let's do it. Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. Very tough matchup here. I am going Vettori over Allen. This isn't another one of those weird ones that happened before in the past and we just forgot about it, right? Just want to double make sure. I think this is actually a bout that they've been trying to put together for a very long time, but kept falling apart. Yeah. Okay, we had a cancellation at one point, and then before the cancellation, I think they were chirping at each other a ton. I do think I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori here. I think Brendan Allen is going to have a tough time getting his takedowns on. I do like Brendan Allen's MMA game. I think he has decent striking, all right? I definitely don't think Brendan Allen's bad. I think he has cardio issues, and I think he has fight IQ issues. I think he makes really bad decisions in terms of he has good grappling, but I think he employs it in very reckless ways, and he makes bad decisions on the ground that have him end up on bottom a lot of times. But with that being said, I don't think Allen's going to be able to take Vettori down. I think Vittori's incredibly difficult to take down. I think the things that Vettori's added to his striking game is going to just make it even more difficult for Allen to get in close for takedowns. Because I think, if anything, I think Vettori's going to take Allen down. And I think Allen's going to pull guard and accept the takedown and realize it's going to be really hard to submit Vettori from bottom or sweep him even. And I think Allen's going to make mistakes. I think Vettori's going to take advantage of him. And I think this is a good time to get that underdog bet. You know, both guys coming off 2 losses. So we're on even ground there. The height and reach isn't really that dramatic. If anything, this means Vettori can get in under Allen. If anything, yeah, I think Vettori is going to win this one by decision. I think he's going to land probably equal to Allen on the feet, but he's going to get the takedowns. If anyone's going to get takedowns, I think it's going to be Vettori. I think he's going to push Allen against the fence. I think Vettori's going to try and pressure Allen and back him up. Yeah. And then whenever he is at distance, he's going to play his kicking game, Vettori is, with the body kicks and leg kicks. I think he's been developing that well. Actually, Vettori's come a long way. This is probably the hardest one I've had on the card to predict, though. Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. I think we got on one side Kyler Phillips, who's going to use a ton of footwork. All right, a ton of footwork. I think he's going to try and use a lot of jabs, a lot of straights to get in and out, and then be back on the footwork. Vinicius, I think, is going to have to look to pressure Phillips, get him against the cage, land big shots. He's going to be hands down, so it's going to be much harder for Phillips to get in on takedowns, which is something Phillips also is going to need to do in this fight, because I think Oliveira is going to be going for Phillips' legs. I think he's going to be trying to kick the hell out of his legs. Now, if Phillips employs good footwork, he could do it. Man, I'm really nervous because I want to pick Oliveira, mainly because of the style matchup and the athleticism differences, whereas Phillips is more speed, more agility. Vinicius is more power, strength. Maybe I think their punches can get to the target at the same speed, but Vinicius, I think, is definitely stronger. I think when takedown defense comes, I think Oliveira is going to just be able to get Phillips off him relatively easily. I think the clinch game is going to be very dangerous for Phillips. I think Oliveira is going to have a lot of good knees that he can take advantage of if they do end up in the clinch. But I think Phillips is going to try to avoid that at all costs. I just think I think Oliveira is going to really light up his legs. I think he's going to really make him pay for his exits on the footwork to try and keep a distance. I think Phillips is going to try and get some, a few point shots here and there. I think he's going to try and put on a high pace to maybe tire out Oliveira, because Oliveira does show that he can slow down. He starts breathing heavy, but man, he carries good power even to the end of third rounds of fights. So this is tough. And Oliveira has been in close fights throughout all of his career so far, and came over a really, really tough matchup with Saeed in a fight in the night where he was a underdog. All right, man, Phillips just has so many skills, and that's what makes me worried. I just think the power and damage is on Oliveira's sides, and he really just needs one shot to at any part of the body, like body, head, or leg, to switch things around. And I think that's going to happen. I think the momentum's behind Oliveira. He knows what he needs to do. I think he's focused and locked in. I think if he gets a little too goofy, he starts doing too much showmanship, I think that's where the fight can get away from him, because that's not who Phillips is. Phillips stays very locked in to his game plan throughout the whole fight, which makes him very hard to beat. So I am going with Oliveira. But I would not be surprised if Phillips took away a decision on this one. I would not be surprised. But Oliveira has been in a lot of close decisions, and came out on top. So, yeah, I'm going with Oliveira. I'm going with Oliveira here. I think he's going to continue that ride throughout the rankings. All right, Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. Man, Michael Johnson, you are a fucking dog for taking this fight. What a dog for taking this. Zellhuber, though, although the build disadvantage for Johnson is great, Zellhuber, he's there to be hit. He gets hit in a lot of his fights, I will say. Especially, I think he lost his last fight against my boy Ribovic, my boy Esteban Ribovic, in a banger of a fight on the Sphere card. Okay, and Ribovic, I think, even has fought since then. Has he? Oh, yeah, he lost to Nasrat, which I predicted correctly, that I knew Nasrat would beat him. And he's fighting Ellsbrenner next. So, Zellhuber's fought the dogs, all right? He has fought the fucking dogs of the lightweight division, for sure. But, yeah, it's hard for me to pick Johnson. It's just hard for me to pick Johnson, because I think Johnson lost to Fayed a few fights ago, rather. Beat Darius Flowers, who is more of a grappler. And again, you beat Otman Azaitar. That doesn't mean much to me. It does not mean much to me. I think when you look back, let's see, who's the last... Let's see, it's you get anyone who's a bit higher up on that ladder. He even lost to Clay Guida in 2021. Lost to Jamie Malarkey. I think it's hard for me in any capacity. Michael Johnson always has that one punch that can end a fight. And he's really, really technical. And he follows through on all his shots. But yeah, I think Zellhuber, he's going to stay out of distance. He's going to play a smart game plan. He's going to he could even put Michael Johnson out. Michael Johnson's chin is definitely not at its prime anymore. And it's been touched plenty. So, especially with that Ferreira loss. That was a nasty overhand. But yeah, I think Zellhuber will win this one. Probably by finish. Speaking of finishes, Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. All right. I cannot believe these odds are this close. I'm going to be 100% real with you. No clue why these are that close. It's a good fight to bet Dan Ige on. Yeah, Dan Ige. And I think he's going to knock Pitbull out. I think he's going to knock him the fuck out. I think Pitbull, he has faced a ton of great competition. Don't get me wrong. One, that was a long time ago when he was in his prime. Let's just he lost to Yair Rodriguez, but don't get me wrong, Yair Rodriguez looked like a new guy. I know people like to crap on Yair Rodriguez because he can get thrown around by Volkov or Volkanovski. He can just get tossed around easily, it seems, by grapplers. But I think Yair Rodriguez looked completely different, not just in his style and how he approached the fight. I think his build, he looked way more dense and muscular even in his legs. He looked like he just had a stronger base and looked like he was less prone to getting thrown around. So I'm not going to hold that against Pitbull for losing to Rodriguez. But before that, his last fight before that, March 22nd, 2024. Before that, lost in Ryzen in 2023. Lost to Sergio Pettis, a guy who's fought at bantamweight, and I think Sergio Pettis has even fought at flyweight. No? Right? I think he's also fought at flyweight, or is this a bantamweight fight? No, man, he just lost. He's just fought flyweights at bantamweight. That was my mistake. But yeah, when you're like losing to bantamweights, and you got Dan Ige, who's a dense, like very dense, heavy hitting featherweight. Yeah, I ain't gonna buy it. I ain't buying that. I ain't buying that. Sorry. No offense. And like you got a 65-inch reach at featherweight, my dude. I don't know about that one, Chief. 38 years old. We just got Josh Emmett saying that he thinks Dan Ige hits harder than Ilia Topuria, which I agree with. I think Ilia Topuria is just much more Ilia Topuria obviously has massive power, but he's just more technical in the setups and like the placement of the shot. It's way better than Dan Ige's in my opinion. Dan Ige I think does hit harder than Topuria though. This is a rough matchup for Pitbull. I don't think Ige is going to get taken down by Pitbull. But Pitbull's got skills, all right? The reason why I was going to finish my statement that Pitbull did so well at Bellator is he was a guy who had a lot of good skills, like a really good high-level MMA fighter, whereas I think people in the other organizations, they don't have a wide skill set. But now, when you enter the UFC at the highest level, you got everyone who's got wide skill sets, but now you got comparisons to the X factors, the frame of the body, what's the level of athleticism, what's the KO power of the guy, which it feels like when you get to the highest of the levels of the UFC, the fighters just have more and more of those advantages on their side. And then you got youth, too. Pitbull, I think, is going to have a rough outing on this one. Dan Ige, by KO. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Again, it's a lot of the same reasons. Kevin Holland has looked stellar recently. Absolutely stellar recently in his last two fights. Finished Vicente Luque with his style of chokes, the front headlock series. That's a great sign. Beat Gunnar Nelson before that with a lot of Gunnar Nelson's tools too. Those are all good signs to me. Kevin Holland has really shored up his ground game for the welterweight division, so we don't have to worry about that now. And we already knew his striking was on point. D-Rod's there to be hit, dude. He slowed down a ton. The straight shots of Kevin are going to get there really quick, man. They're going to get there quick. D-Rod's, I think, going to get chinned. It's a rough matchup for him, man. Really rough matchup for him. Kevin Holland's going to, I think, just put one down the pipe and just sit D-Rod down, to be honest. So that's how that one's going to go. Cool fight to have on the card, though. Should have been made a long time ago. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Roman, finally. I think this is his second chance at the rankings. First time, it was when he fought Anthony Hernandez. That was kind of the deciding factor. Who gets to come to the top 15? And Anthony Hernandez won that fight. Then we had the Cesar Almeida fight after that one, whenever Cesar had to get Kopylov to pull out his own grappling. This was a very surprising sight to see, but Almeida's got that insane world-class kickboxing, so understandable. Then knocked out Chris Curtis at the last second with a very controversial head kick KO. Very controversial. But he still looked great in that fight. Chris Curtis also looked great in that fight. I don't want to pick Paulo Costa, bruh. I don't want to. But I have to. He look, you have to look at the facts. And the fact of the matter is he beat Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold was definitely a little washed, but you can tell Paulo Costa improved himself for the Strickland and Whitaker fights that followed. He wobbled Whitaker really bad, almost finished him. What worries me is that Kopylov's got what seems like a really good fight IQ. And that Almeida fight definitely showed that to me. You know what? No. I'm putting emotion into this pick. Fuck Paulo Costa, dude. So cringe on like social media recently. Like really, really fucking cringe. Holy fucking moly. Yeah. I think Kopylov, just based on being locked in and not a word I don't want to say. Yeah, let's go Kopylov. And let's go that he's going to head kick knock him out. Let's go that he's going to... Paulo Costa likes to leave his hands low. Paulo Costa likes to leave his hands low. He does. It's a bad habit. He's going to get his legs lit up. He's going to get his legs chewed up. And he's going to get head kicked. That's what I think. Kopylov by head kick KO. We've made it. The main event. Max Blessed Holloway versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Whenever these two met the first two times, the Diamond sat my boy, the young man, down. Sat him down. Said, son, if you're going to date my daughter. That's how he did him. There's a lot of narratives coming from the second fight. Holloway wasn't properly built up to 155. Blah, bitty, blah, bitty, blah, bitty, blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the reason why the second Poirier Holloway fight was made was because in never mind. See, this is why I'm glad I checked this. Originally, it was supposed to be Khabib versus Max Holloway. All right, they were supposed to do this at one point, but Holloway weight cut deemed unsafe by the NYAC SAC. Very strange. Okay. Then we come back to the Dustin Poirier matchup. So whenever this one was made, it was a similar situation. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, it was supposed to be. Oh, no, never mind. For some reason, I thought the Khabib fight was what was supposed to happen first, but maybe there was a situation going on prior to that. I forgot a little bit of the history, but it definitely wasn't the most ideal situation for Max to be entering the fight at 155 for the first time. It wasn't his best. I don't like that narrative. He already had plans to meet Khabib, and there was issues with that. So he wanted to go to 155. But maybe because it was like a mix of like Khabib, then Brian Ortega, then to Dustin, it could still be a legit criticism of his move up. You know, it could be a legit excuse even. Maybe. But I mean, Dustin he just looked fantastic in that Holloway fight. The boxing defense was on point. His guard was on point. Holloway was just having a hard time of like finding openings to really hurt Dustin. He landed on him, left marks on Dustin's face, no doubt. But the power difference between these two. Max Holloway's got to keep this at distance and use kicks. He's got to do what he did to Justin. He has to. He cannot sit at boxing range with Dustin. All right, I know he thinks that's fun, and Max is really good at it. Dustin is as good as Max at it, but he's got more power. And you can't play that game. You got to play it like a good game plan, man. You got to use your kicks. Max Holloway has so many good kicks from distance that sometimes he doesn't elect to use. But I think more recently he has recognized that he needs to use these tools, and I think he will come in and try to win this. I don't think Max wants to do all that to just make a really good fight just for the hell of entertainment. Any fight with Dustin Poirier is going to be entertaining. He doesn't need to do that. He needs to come in with a great game plan. And I think he will do that because no matter what this fight delivers, I think Holloway will try to employ his kicks more. That being said, Dustin Poirier ain't losing his retirement fight. I know I just gave all of those reasons why Max could win. Dustin Poirier ain't losing his retirement fight. All right? I will be damned if Poirier loses this fight. Fuck that. All right? He will end his career as the BMF. He will end his career as the best fighter to ever not win an undisputed title. That is Dustin Poirier. He is the best non-undisputed champion of all time. Don't care what anyone else says. And those are my picks. Tell me what I got right, what I got wrong. All right? What are some what are some things that you're seeing that I may be not seeing? Let me know down in the comments below. And for the parlay on the card, fuck it. You put Poirier on that parlay. I don't give a frick how close it is. You always put Poirier down. Poirier, Kevin Holland, easy one to throw in there, and it's not too crazy. It doesn't go above -500, so it'll add some decent value to your parlay. Dan Ige, easily add that boy into your parlay and pick him by KO. So Dan Ige. So we got 3 so far. I don't like putting Zellhuber on it just because he's too big of a favorite. Won't add a lot of value, and also Johnson, you never know. Same thing with Gautier. That's a little too risky. You never know what Valentin might do. I think Ryan Spann. Yeah, Ryan Spann's a great one to put on this. Łukasz Brzeski, man, it would be a miracle if he somehow finished Ryan Spann. If he did, then Ryan Spann truly is cooked and he needs to retire. If that does happen, homie, please. Please. But yeah, that's going to be the last leg of the parlay there. Bruno Ferreira probably be a good one too, but again, that's way too... It's not going to add much value to it. And this is our first time seeing McVey on the UFC scene. So let's not take too big of a risk there. Don't put Ferreira on there. So yeah, we got Spann, we got Gautier. No, I did not. No, we don't have Gautier. We have Spann, we have Ige, we have Holland, we got Poirier. That's a good little 4-legger there. All right, let's see you guys for UFC 318. Peace.